Alright, let's look at number 9. Plot these points on a grid, which I basically mean the XY axes, using a scatter plot on Excel. So manually in algebra you'd have just plotted, you'd done an X and a Y axis, you'd put 2, 5, 3, 7, to plot those on the X and plot the Y values on the Y axis, and each one of them would have represented an ordered pair, which is a dot. Now with Excel you can do that yourself. So let me just make this a little, there we go. So if I wanted to do it, I'd select the whole thing. I would go to insert, and then I'd go to the third chart here, which are the scatter plots. You can plot the points. You have other options for it too. You can bubble them, you put bubbles, and you can put points, or you could connect them all in all kinds of different graphs. But we just want to plot the points, so you go with the first one, which is basically the scatter plot. And that's it. That's how you could plot your points. Now if you right click and say add data labels, it actually gives you the Y values. Okay? And there's your dot plot, or a scatter plot. Alright, moving on to number 10, which is a review of what you've been doing for the previous ones. They've given you a frequency table, and they're asking you to give them the relative, cumulative frequency tables, the graph of the frequency table, which is called the frequency polygon, and a graph of the cumulative frequency table, which is called the ogive, and they're both line graphs. So in order to do the relative frequencies, I have to select the regular classes for relative frequencies, and then frequencies turn into relative frequencies. And in order to calculate the relative frequencies, I have to take every class frequency one at a time and divide it by the total frequency. So which means I have to have the total frequency. So I'm going to create a new box there with a different color. I'm going to add up these frequencies, because in order for me to calculate the relative frequencies, I have to divide every one of these by the total frequency. Now the total frequency, you don't need to type sum. You can just go up here to auto sum and double click on it. There's the total. Easily you can find it. Now the first relative frequency would be the first frequency, which is 20, divided by the total frequency, which is 40. Now at this point you can just drag it down. And at the end, just to be safe, add them up. They should always add up to 1. That means you did it correctly. That's a nice way to check your calculated relative frequencies. And you'll be instructed as to how many decimal places. Let's just go with 3 decimal places. See, these two lower or increase the number of decimal places. So I'm just going to go with 3 decimal places. So there is the graph. There's a table for relative frequencies, known as the relative frequency table. For cumulative frequencies, your classes obviously are going to have to change. So I'm just going to grab the title, bring it and put it here. Now these are not frequencies anymore, they're cumulative frequencies. Now my classes, the first one would be 0 to 20, if you recall. The second one will go to the beginning, which is 0 to where it's at, which is 40. The next one will be 0 to 60. So for cumulative, you always go back to the beginning of your classes, which in this case is 0. So 0 to 20, 0 to 40, 0 to 60, 0 to 80, and 0 to 100. So these are my classes for my cumulative frequency table. And to be consistent, let me put them yellow and box them. Alright, so now the cumulative frequency, well, the first one will be 20. The next one, which is 0 to 40, is basically the sum of the first two, so it will be this plus that. The third one, 0 to 60, will be the sum of the 3 of them, so it will be this plus that. And 80 will be the sum of the first 4, so it's this plus that. And at the end, it's just the sum of all of them. Sum of all of these frequencies, which is 40. And these are the cumulative frequencies. Alright, so to draw the frequency polygon, as you recall, we need the midpoints. So 0 to 20 is 10. 20 to 40 is 30. You don't need to do the rest, just select 2 of them so Excel understands your pattern of interest and drag it down. It creates the other ones for you. midpoints that is. And then you have to graph these against the actual frequencies, which I don't need to type. I can just move it here. And those are the actual frequencies. And if I select them, and these are the ordered pairs, and I can give the title. Usually the second box you can put the title, which is the frequency polygon. So don't worry if it comes out of the box. And you basically go insert and you do a line graph with the points in it. So there's your frequency polygon. Oops, let me undo that. Of course, to make it pretty, you can just color it differently, the title, and bold it. And if you don't like these lines, let me see if I can. Come on, get out. There you go. So you can delete them. You can delete the lines if you want. You can shape your table, change the color, whatever. So there's the frequency polygon. And to do the ogive, I take the upper class limits. So my x's will be the upper class limits of my classes. So 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100. And of course I have to put them against the cumulative frequencies, which I have here. So I don't have to retype it. Oops, sorry, I have to just, I'm copying formulas, so what I have to do is I have to copy and then just copy the values. There you go. Now it works out. So this is the ogive. And if I select them with that empty cell and do a line graph, and there's the ogive. Alright, let's move on to the next two exercises.